Hey, what's up, everybody? What is going on? I hope everyone has some nice Thanksgiving Day plans. It is a nice time to stop and reflect. Always good to take a moment, whether you just have a day or you have multiple days ahead of you. I hope you get some time to spend with family and to think about what's most important. As we've shown on past live streams, not everybody has taken that opportunity to think about what's most important. And you have a lot of the meltdowns that you see out there. Not recommended. Definitely not recommended. Bad for your health, bad for your image, bad for your reputation. Nevertheless, that didn't stop people from taking some very extreme action in the form of cutting off all their hair. I mean, shoot, I wish I still had my hair. I wouldn't be cutting it all off if that was the case. But in any case, again, political ASMR number 11, coming at you right on the cusp of Thanksgiving Day. I don't know if anybody out there is going to be watching the football games, but my Saints aren't going to be playing, so I may skip the NFL altogether this cycle, which will be another weird one for me. I had a few things I wanted to kind of show with y'all. I'm going to start labeling, which I think I've got this labeled in here somewhere. You just might not be able to see it. I'm going to start labeling my images here as AI generated. Some folks have actually gotten confused. So what you're looking at here, the banner here, and it'll be the same thumbnail on multiple platforms. It is AI generated. It's not intended to kind of fool anybody, but just kind of, something for fun, right? So yeah, from now on, we'll just highlight those as being AI generated. But interestingly enough, Joe was happy in his press conference during the Wednesday visit that Trump had with him a couple weeks back now. I mean, he seemed exuberant that Trump came in, raised a lot of questions, a lot of speculation out there. So Trump's picking him up. Don't worry about it. We'll send you off on vacation. I'm here to take care of things for you. But that hasn't stopped. Now, keep in mind, we have a lot of history now of Biden not seemingly being, having the mental acuity, being sharp enough, quick-witted, whatever you want to call it, to be able to make a large number of decisions on behalf of the country. Let me just extend this a little bit. There we go. And that, of course, hasn't stopped Karine Jean-Pierre from naming Biden's tenure as president as historic. And on the way out, wouldn't you know it, they do the very same thing. He's being called one of the most historic presidents, one of the most historic presidencies of all time. Yeah, Philip saying that's bull. So as you can see, our most successful administration in history. Okay. President Biden and Vice President Harris have overseen one of the most successful administrations in history and will be leaving behind the best economy in the world. We'll dig into that a little bit here, right? Let's dig into that. So one of the big claims that they put out there is they've created 16 million jobs. And, you go back all the way to 2016, pull the data, and the number of jobs that people occupied at that point in time was about 144 million. And so when they claim that they've created 16 million, you look at 2019. I always reference 2019. That's the only real analog that we have, unless somebody in the chat has a different thought process on this. But that's the only analog that I see of normal times right before COVID, right? Before the economy tanked because of the pandemic. That's the only normalcy that we had was 2019. So when you compare economic data, when you compare a lot of different things, 19 seems to make sense, not 20, because that was an extraordinary year in many respects. So looking at 19, it's 152 million, right? So I just have them highlighted here. 152, 159. Where did that 16 million come from that they're talking about? That's about 7 and some change up there. You could come down here to this COVID period, 142, when clearly there was 20 million jobs lost. 10 came back pretty quickly, but not all of them came back quickly. A lot of restaurants went under. They couldn't withstand the multiple months of, having to just do things on a to-go basis. For example, one of my favorites, Sweet Tomatoes, or in some regions, Soup Plantation, was a soup and salad kind of place, along with some other food that was there. That thing went out of business. It went totally out of business, right? And so it took them, like maybe a month or so to completely go out of business. They didn't have, I'm just surprised they didn't have adequate cash flow or just something in place to be able to keep them sustained for any longer period of time. But that wasn't the only case. There was many businesses that were in that same boat that couldn't withstand the new environment they were put in. They weren't really set up to do Uber Eats or to-go orders. I mean, this is like a buffet. You go in there and make yourself a salad, sit down. So a lot of places went under like that. But 10 million jobs all across the economy came back. Otherwise, we were at 132. And so when they speak about we created 16 million jobs, well, the real jump, if you look at this analog from 152 over to 159, what would have the natural path have been had we had another normal year? Didn't have this year. Could this 152 have been 155? Does that seem reasonable? 153? And then you take that off of the 159 that's out there. So it starts to erode the idea that they oversaw one of the most successful administrations in history. And just as a note too, all this content I'm publishing to my website, politicalcow.com. So if you want to see any of the links, any of the videos that I have out there, it's all on my website. It's linked in the on my link tree and also on my profile directly. So I'm just publishing my notes as I kind of go here. Anyway, that was an interesting one. Most successful administration in history. I don't know if anybody else is totally aligned with that, if you totally agree or not. But then couple that with they created 16 million jobs. 16 million. I mean, that's a tremendous number of jobs to put out there, right? All right, so let's take a look at here. So when you talk about success of your economy and what you've overseen and what you've created, there's different data points you kind of point towards, and the current administration is pointing towards the stock market. Look at the Dow, all-time highs. Look at the NASDAQ. Look at the S&P. But what they don't really hit are, drilling into data, just a simple double click, right? So they'll say like, oh, look, we created 16 million jobs, whatever it might be. Look, last month we created 200,000 jobs. Wonderful. But what gets lost in the noise is, by the way, the report that came out with 200,000, the past 2 months were revised downwards by 50,000 jobs. And then if you double click even further, it says, hey, by the way, from 2023 to 2024 right now, the number of people with multiple jobs increased by 200,000 from 4.4 million to 8.4 million to 8.6 million. And you start looking at it's really easy, just one double click into it. You don't have to go too deep. The percentage of workforce with multiple jobs increased 0.1%. Percentage of women with multiple jobs, 0.2% up just in 1 year. I should have posted the data from when Biden took office in 2021, but maybe for another live. Percentage of men with multiple jobs, that's that 0.1%. People with one full-time job and one part-time job, if you look at an absolute number, not as a percentage, went from 5 million to 5.2 million, so 200,000 people. So the total number of people with multiple jobs, up 200,000. Total people with a full-time job and one part-time job, 200,000 more people picked up part-time work to be able to make ends meet, is what that bottom line is. And then you look at the inflation rates ticking up. It's at 4.2% again. And you start to wonder, is this really an economy that's beneficial for everybody? We're being told that this is a great year on a lot of other channels, live events, media, legacy media in particular. Greatest economy in the world. But the greatest story never told is that it's good for the billionaires and for Wall Street, but Main Street has been left behind. I think that message has been lost altogether. And the ironic thing is it's been lost by the party that always claims to be for the people, for the working class, for the poor. The wage tripled, but the price only doubled. Minimum wage was $15 when I was growing up. Not too long ago, minimum wage was $5. Oh, no, sorry. When I was growing up, it was $5.15. Yep. Yeah, when I was growing up, my first job, I think it was $4.15 an hour was my first job. But let's take a look at some other data points too now, right? Here, from the beginning of Biden's tenure, right? Use of overdraft or insufficient funds as a percentage of persons in the economy, 20% up to 30% as of January of 24. Steady increase. So you couple that, you got to connect a few of these things together, right? Look for confluence, which is a lot of data leading you in a particular direction. You have the data saying that more people are taking on multiple jobs to make ends meet. You see data like this, insufficient funds, overdraft rates have increased over time. The surveys revealing that what are the categories that people are having the hardest time paying or making up for, even though there have been wage increases. Utilities, food, rent, and the list goes on from there. Let's see if I have it here. And I don't have it here, but there's been surveys that have been published now that they've asked people, what is, what is the, maybe I had it a little bit higher. No, it's not there. Wait, it is here. Oh yeah, the Making Ends Meet survey. Okay, so it is linked here. You can go take a look at that. It just got published on the 20th of November. So it's linked on my site. Go take a look at that. So one of the things that they say in there is that about 30%, I believe is the number, of people in this particular survey are having difficulty paying their rent each month or paying their mortgage, which is, to me, a very high number. It's uncomfortably high. That's where it's at. And the same data is reflected in Redfin's surveys. Redfin is one of the organizations that aggregates real estate data, just like Zillow. But Redfin's reporting the same sentiment. And in some cases, people making sacrifices, giving up food, giving up lunch, or whatever it might be, in order to make ends meet. So you got to look at another layer down. You can't just count on the stock market to guide you and to tell you what reality is in this case. And then on top of that, if you look, the Inflation Reduction Act, which actually added significantly to inflation. Part of the administration's success that's being touted is around the CHIPS Act, and $6 billion here, $6 billion there being sent off to companies to create manufacturing facilities in the United States. Taiwan Semiconductor and Samsung. Now, good companies for sure. Wasn't this touted as something that was supposed to bring manufacturing centers for American companies back? These are not US-based companies that are receiving these investments. So again, it's a little bit of a disguise put on what's really going on out there. So I've got his statement proclaiming that he's had the most historic presidency of all time. You could take a look at that. It's on the website. But that still hasn't stopped a lot of his folks from, pushing the envelope further. And I think they just do it from a standpoint of, trying to browbeat people or trying to make them feel guilty about one thing or another, the environment being a big one. John Kerry's been a huge proponent. And I'll hit play here and just kind of have y'all listen into him. But he's again setting a timeline, giving us a doomsday scenario. Money without education or planning is just going to get wasted. Okay.
So I think personally we're on the brink of needing to declare a climate emergency, which is what we really have. And we need to get people to behave as if this really is a major transitional challenge to the whole planet, to everybody. People in Africa don't have electricity, need to choose the right kinds of electricity. And we need to help them.
So you caught that, right? The idea that there's developing parts of the world, is it more important to give them a better quality of life, get them to a baseline level, or is it to push a climate agenda? Let me replay that again so I could get his words exactly right.
People in Africa don't have electricity, need to choose the right kinds of electricity.
People in Africa who don't have electricity need to choose the right kinds of electricity. If I did not have electricity, I don't think I would care what kind of electricity I would get. I would just want electricity. Same things like someone who doesn't have access to fresh water. They're not going to care if it's Evian bottled water or Dasani or whatever. They just want some clean water. So here he is. Where's this place? Harvard Kennedy School? Yeah. At one of the academic capitals of the world, at Harvard, sitting to, I'm sure, a very receptive audience. I need to listen to the fuller version. I don't know what Denzel says to all this stuff, but giving people yet another timeline. The first time I heard any timelines on climate was with Al Gore. He put 10 years out there, and of course that passed, and then another 10-year timeline got put on that. So according to his schedule, we're on the third 10-year increment. Kerry again here. There's no balance. There's no consideration that there are developing economies. There are areas in the world that just cannot afford to make these types of moves, right? Again, then you look back in the United States like, hey, we got our own problems going here too. Why are we pushing so hard for other regions to, in Kerry's words, choose the right form of electricity? Because even that effort costs a lot of money. Because now, here, let him complete his statement on that.
And we need to help them be able to afford it.
And we need to be able to help them to afford it. So they need to choose the right form of electricity, and we need to help them afford it. That's not a winning combination in my mind in a lot of cases, right? Because how long will you help them afford it? Is it just for 5 years, for 10 years? Will the throughput be there long term? So that's That's, I think, a big miss that continues to happen on the Democrat side, where they're pushing the climate agenda so hard and they're not thinking about third world countries, quality of life, and quality of life here locally as well. Not including utility plus others. Your state has a sugar tax, Amber says. What? A sugar tax? You got to be kidding me. I've never heard.
Hey, Masood, how can I brighten your night?
Hey, can you tell me what states have sugar taxes?
Several U.S. states have implemented some form of sugar taxes targeting sugary drinks. California, specifically Berkeley, was one of the first to pass a soda tax. Other places like Philadelphia, Seattle, and Boulder, Colorado have similar measures. The goal is to curb consumption of sugary beverages and improve public health. Where are you looking for a sugar tax?
Oh, Washington, I guess, huh?
Seattle has a sugary drink tax, specifically targeting sugary beverages. It's designed to reduce sugar consumption while raising revenue for health programs. Curious about any other locations?
Wow, that's crazy. They started to charge us to recycle, so we stopped recycling some. Yeah, isn't that something, right? You start charging people to do those sorts of things, right? And it's like, gosh, it's not even worth my effort, What do I think about the ceasefire with Lebanon? I think it's good. Any conflict ending will be good. I don't know the details of it, though. My AI doesn't give me current events like that to have it recite that out for you guys right now. I'd have to go to my text-based one and read off of that. But any progress to stopping the conflict in any regard, I think, is a good thing, and I'm hopeful that it's something that has legs and can be lasting. Whole King County, not just Seattle. Oh, interesting. Plus, we get charged a bag fee. The bag fee, I went back to California briefly to take care of my mom when she was ill, and I hadn't been back in quite some time, and I was checking out at the grocery store just a few things, and they were kind of handing it to me as though I was going to have an armful of stuff and just walk out, put them in my car or something. I was like, can I just have a bag, And they looked at each other and like, oh, we're going to have to charge you for it, like a quarter, or I don't even remember what it was. I was like, yeah, put it in a bag. And I was like, in fact, I'll take two. But it's bizarre. The bag fee now charged for plastic bags. And I didn't realize it, but there were people walking in with their own personal bags, and that was the reason for it, was because there is, in fact, a bag fee now. All right, let's see what what else Carrie has to say here.
Do it. We are the largest economy in the world, $24 trillion or $23 trillion economy, maybe more by now. The next closest is China at about 18 trillion. And the next closest to the two of us, Germany and Japan at 4 trillion. That's how far it drops down. You don't think we have some sort of obligation out of that to be responsible? I think you do. But I'm just saying our country needs to talk about this. And we need to make it happen because we're paying huge sums of money to make up the difference.
Paying huge sums of money to make up the difference. I wish the clip completed, but there's offsets. What does an offset really do? They just set a price for carbon emissions, and where does that really go? How does that really help the situation that you're talking about? It's this bizarre pseudo economy that they create around it, but you see him here just kind of lecturing folks. Let me just catch that end of his statement here again.
And the next closest to the two of us, Germany and Japan at 4 trillion. That's how far it drops down. You don't think we have some sort of obligation out of that to be responsible? I think you do. But I'm just saying our country needs to talk about this, and we need to make it happen because we're paying huge sums of money to make up the difference.
Yeah, so again, complete lack of, I don't think you can call it an unintended consequence, but just the lack of foresight, the lack of really caring about people and their lives and the quality of lives that you want to uplift third world countries to bring them up to a given standard, clean water, electricity, roads, infrastructure, some basics, schools, but you can't even get to that point because they're being compelled to choose the right form of electricity. And then we're going to go help them create that, right? And is that sustainable? I don't even know. Yeah, absolutely. He's just out there demanding funds from people. I'm just astonished with him. Here, somebody asked about the Hezbollah ceasefire. I haven't read too much on it, but Biden didn't waste any time to come out and take some credit. So I'm going to listen into this as soon as we get going here. Listen into it with you guys.
Good afternoon. Today I have some good news to report from the Middle East.
Hang on, I have to adjust the audio real quick. Bear with me. Just increase the volume. All right, back to it.
I just spoke with the Prime Minister of Israel and Lebanon. I'm pleased to announce that their governments have accepted the United States proposal to end the devastating conflict between Israel and Hezbollah. I want to thank President Macron of France for his partnership in reaching this moment. For nearly 14 months, a deadly conflict raged across the border that separates Israel and Lebanon. A conflict that began the day after the October 7 attack by Hamas on Israel. Hours later, at 2 a.m. in the morning, Hezbollah and other terrorist organizations backed by Iran attacked Israel in support of Hamas. Let's be clear, Israel did not launch this war. The Lebanese people did not seek that war either, nor did the United States. Over the past year, including the days immediately following October the 7th, I directed the U.S. military to flow assets and capabilities into the region, including aircraft carriers, fighter squadrons, and sophisticated air defense battery, to defend Israel and deter our common enemy at critical moments. Since the war with Hezbollah began, over 70,000 Israelis have been forced to live as refugees in their own country, helplessly watching their homes, their businesses, their communities as they're bombarded and destroyed. And over 300,000 Lebanese people.
So, I don't know, the run up seemed a little bit winded getting to the podium. And again, I always look at verbal and nonverbal cues just to kind of see where people are at. But a little out of breath getting up here. It's not slurring. He's kind of running some words in together, even though the teleprompter's in front of him. And I doubt that he's going to take questions at all. He's just going to make a statement and go, as he's been doing here recently. But he doesn't seem to be, doing very well. In fact, his performance is diminishing considerably as time goes on and edges towards the inauguration, which he has said that he is going to attend. But let him continue.
Have also been forced to live as refugees in their own country, in a war imposed on them by Hezbollah. All told, this has been the deadliest conflict between Israel and Hezbollah in decades. How many of Hezbollah's senior leaders are dead, including its longtime leader, Nasrallah? And Israel has destroyed Hezbollah's terrorist infrastructure in southern Lebanon as well, including miles of sophisticated tunnels, which were prepared for an October 7 style terrorist attack in northern Israel. But lasting security for the people of Israel and Lebanon cannot be achieved only on the battlefield. And that's why I directed my team to work with the governments of Israel and Lebanon to forge a ceasefire, to bring the conflict between Israel and Hezbollah to a close. Under the deal reached today, effective at 4 a.m. tomorrow local time, the fighting across the Lebanese-Israeli border will end. Will end.
I always find it funny when they give a very specific time. So have at it up until that point, and then we're done. I don't know. Horrible government. Amber's comment here. Horrible government spending, like in neighboring county officials lost hundreds of thousands. So firefighters insurance, so they can't call them for help. No explanation. Oh.
The agreement totally implemented. You know, there will be no U.S. troops deployed in southern Lebanon. This is consistent with my commitment to the American people to not put U.S. troops in combat in this conflict. Instead, we, along with France and others, will provide the necessary assistance.
Hey, there's just a few people in the live, but if you could give it a like, I'd really appreciate it. It'd help kind of boost it up there in the algorithm and maybe gain a little bit more circulation.
To make sure this deal is implemented fully and effectively. Let me be clear. If Hezbollah or anyone else breaks the deal and poses a direct threat to Israel, then Israel retains the right to self-defense consistent with international law, just like any country when facing a terrorist group pledged to that country's destruction. At the same time, this deal supports Lebanon's sovereignty, and so it heralds a new start for Lebanon, a country that I've seen most of over the years, a country with rich history and culture. If fully implemented, this deal can put Lebanon on a path toward a future that's worthy of its significant past. And just as the Lebanese people deserve a future of security and prosperity, so do the people of Gaza. They too deserve an end to the fighting and displacement. The people of Gaza have been through hell. Their world's absolutely shattered. Far too many civilians in Gaza have suffered, far too much. And Hamas has refused for months and months.
You know, he used to kind of shout different portions of his speeches, really kind of get into it, even if the audience wasn't kind of reciprocating. But this is just a little too monotone even for him now. I don't know if he's just going through the motions or maybe he has a cold, not feeling good. I don't know. This is just a little uncharacteristic because usually he, comes in and does a little bit of a whisper. He's like, and guess what? We did it. I don't know. He usually does something like that, right? And then he'll like yell and like catch you off guard. And you're like, whoa, what the heck happened? Yes, Lord's best president ever. Whisperer in chief. Absolutely. But this is a bit of an odd, the delivery is odd, I'll say.
To negotiate a good faith ceasefire and a hostage deal. And so now Hamas has a choice to make. Their only way out is to release the hostages, including American citizens, which they hold. In the process, bring an end to the fighting, which would make possible a surge of humanitarian relief. Over the coming days, the United States will make another push with Turkey, Egypt, Qatar, Israel, and others to achieve a ceasefire in Gaza. With the hostages released and the end of the war without Hamas in power, that becomes possible. As for the broader Middle East region...
Hey, Gabe on TikTok, I appreciate it. You have a good Thanksgiving as well. Appreciate all the likes.
Today's announcement brings us closer to realizing the affirmative agenda that I've been pushing forward during my entire presidency. A vision for the future of the Middle East where it's at peace and prosperous and integrated across borders. A future where Palestinians have a state of their own, one that fulfills its people's legitimate aspirations, one that cannot threaten Israel or harbor terrorist groups with backing from Iran. A future where Israelis and Palestinians enjoy equal measures of security, prosperity, and yes, dignity. To that end, the United States remains prepared to conclude a set of historic deals with Saudi Arabia, to include a security pact and economic assurances, together with a credible pathway for establishing a Palestinian state and the full normalization of relations between Saudi Arabia and Israel, a desire they both have. I believe this agenda remains possible, and in my remaining time in office, I'll work tirelessly to advance this vision for an integrated, secure, and prosperous region, all of which strengthens America's national security. Getting all this done will require making some hard choices. Israel has been bold on the battlefield. Iran and its proxies have paid a very heavy price. Now Israel must be bold in turning tactical gains against Iran and its proxies into a coherent strategy that secure Israel's long-term safety and advances a broader peace and prosperity in the region. Today's announcement is a critical step in advancing that vision, and so I applaud the crazy decision made by the leaders of Lebanon and Israel to end the violence. It reminds us that peace is possible. Say that again, peace is possible. As long as that is the case, I will not for a single moment stop working to achieve it. God bless you all. I'm sorry to keep you waiting so long. May God protect our troops. Thank you.
All right, let's see how he exits the scene here.
Mr. President, will you get a ceasefire in Gaza before leaving office? How is this push any different from the previous ones?
Mr. President, what have you told the new administration?
And there he goes, rides off into the sunset. One of the questions I was asked is how is this one any different, this particular ceasefire agreement? You know, from others that had been put in place and broken over time. How's this one any different? I couldn't quite hear what he was saying, but he mumbled something back to the, back to the audience there. Well, to the press. But I mean, it feels a little lackluster. Not much to it. Yeah, ceasefire is not peace. I don't know what the answer is. I just, if folks can abandon the idea of, absolute annihilation or elimination, I'm trying not to use particular words. I mean, that you need to have like that as a basis or a starting point to have real conversations, right? But anyway, in that, I guess changing gears a little bit, Elon's been triggering the media quite a bit lately. National Press Club. I'll play the clip here, but this guy, he's talking about the professionalism of journalism, the integrity of the industry, and then he delivers a speech like this.
Matters. Everything we do is under fire. Elon Musk sits on Twitter every day, or X today, saying like, we are the media, you are the media. My message to...
So I'm sure everybody saw that when Elon posted that, saying, you are the media or we're the media, just acknowledging the level of discourse that was happening on his platform and the number of stories. And they have a couple of new ways of aggregating data across the platform and presenting it that, works out nicely for news, right? They took offense to it, right? And is it offense because they don't think that what Elon has created is valid? Is it offense because of his political views? Let's listen.
Elon Musk is bull. You're not the media. You having a blue check mark, a Twitter handle, and 300 words of cleverness It doesn't make you a reporter.
So, interesting mentality here. We've seen it earlier with people having their meltdowns over the election, where they refer to Trump supporters as uneducated, stupid, so forth. And again, here, him citing credentials and, whatever else it takes to be a part of the press club. Kind of like a educational, but it's a very like similar association. This, I guess it's somewhat of a narcissism, this level of superiority that you kind of feel in yourself. And if there's anything that even challenges that, it's something that's absolutely not valid and you have to diminish it in some way. So that's the only thing I can equate it to. Let me see if I can find that video real quick here. Give me just a sec, guys. Show you the video I'm talking about here. Go to my channel. Here we go.
If you are so sad about your groceries being expensive, get a better fucking paying job.
Whoa, hold on. It's not just the moral superiority here. He just thinks he's better than everybody and that he knows better.
Do better in life. Get a fucking education. Do something.
An academic. Check out my X. So I'll play the rest so you can see where I went with my X feed. But this mindset that this guy's expressing with his meltdown from the election, I think is a very similar one to what's happening at the press club. People are bringing, data together, bringing stories together. The community notes is working to kind of, filter things out, or to put added context on things. And it's upsetting to people, right? MSNBC's numbers are down, CNN, a lot of mainstream news is down in terms of their ratings. And so they have a very violent response to anything that's counter to it, right? Just like this guy. Here, I'll play the rest of it on my encounter with a professor on the X platform. X feed, there was somebody that made some remark, and it sounded like they were totally like some academic out there. And so I just quote tweeted them. And I said, hey, this sounds like an academic. Let's see if I'm right. And wouldn't you know it, they were a professor at some university. Oh, wow, look at that. They blocked me. Okay, well, I can't see it, but if you all go my profile, maybe you can see it. They blocked me. How about that? Looks like I was very correct about them. So same mindset, same level of narcissism happening in both cases here. If the U.S. can deport 20, I'm sure Israel can deport 5. Yeah, probably. The Pentagon has passed the budget audit. Yes, Amber, and I hope that the Doge looks into that. In fact, the Doge recently announced they're going to audit the IRS. If that's not irony, I don't know what is.
Any more than me looking at your head and seeing that you have a brain and telling you have an awesome set of tools makes me a damn neurosurgeon, right? Like what we do, what journalists do, what you did in Mississippi, what Al Jazeera does in the Middle East.
Did he just call out Al Jazeera? Did he just call him out in terms of journalistic integrity? It doesn't take too many Google searches, or maybe you have to go to DuckDuckGo now, but it doesn't take too many searches to kind of find some of the bad actors that are mixed up in Al Jazeera and some of the events that have happened over time. Famously, there was a Afghan leader who was fighting against the Taliban, and he was doing a pretty good job pushing back on them. And an Al Jazeera crew came to interview him. He didn't take a lot of interviews, but hey, it's Al Jazeera, let's do it. And wouldn't you know, those folks had devices in their cameras. Everything was a fake, and that guy was eliminated. And that was preceding days to what worked up to September 11th. So Al Jazeera, I don't know. There's a long history of stuff there that I can't even believe he's not even in the right mind to call them out. Why didn't you say New York Times or something? Something that all the liberals love, right? Yeah, IRS endorsed Kamala. I did see that. What's up with that? IRS union endorsed her. You know why though? Because they want to hire 87,000 new employees, right? And that's more money coming into the union. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. Let me see if my AI's got a little data for me here, because I'm curious. What is their average salary? Let's see.
Hey, Masood. I'm here.
Hey, can you tell me what the average salary is for someone employed by the Internal Revenue Service?
I'm afraid I don't have access to specific details like that. What makes you curious about IRS salaries in the first place?
Sounds like it's a leading question. It's asking me. They're trying to get me in a trap. Let me ask my text chat. Hold on a second. Actually, I'll pull it up here so you guys can see it too. Okay, what is the average salary of an IRS employee? All right, so we got what, 72? So then they list a couple of examples of different roles, 57, 44, 78. The average for an employee is approximately that one year. Okay. What is the 87,000? Let's see what it comes up with. I actually heard it was higher in the hundreds of thousands. Hopefully it's not on to me and it's going to cut off the... Wow, this is a big delay. That's the voice. Hey, you still there?
Absolutely.
Okay, so can you tell me what 72,000 times 80,000 is?
Sure thing. It's $5,760,000,000. What's got you crunching such big numbers?
Okay, so it finally came back when I asked the voice. So $6.3 billion a year. And that's only salary. Don't forget that you have to layer on top of that. I mean, they themselves will have to pay Social Security tax. That's on top of their health insurance, pension, so forth. The total cost of that, 70 some odd, what is 78,000? $72,000 employee total cost can be well in excess of $100,000. So they're asking for, at minimum here, $6.3 billion of additional funding. And of course, what are average union dues? What are the union dues for? Just to see what the union's cut is out of all this. For example, dues might be around that. Okay. What is 0.85% times 72,000?
0.85% of 72,000 is 612. What made you curious about this specific percentage?
What is 612 times 87,000?
612 times 87,000 equals 53,244,000. What are you working on that involves all these calculations?
So, at a minimum, the IRS union, assuming everyone has the exact same salary, or that's the average that comes into play, 53 million goes into the treasury of the IRS labor union. And what do they do with all that money? And how many years have they been operating? I don't know. I'm curious. I don't know if it's leading to anything good or not. I have no clue. No clue as to where that's going. Oop, lost my studio link. Let me get studio back up here. One sec, guys. As to where that's going. All right, there we go. It's coming back up slowly. All right. So enough with that. Let me let the National Press Club feller here keep talking.
East. You don't proclaim yourself to be a reporter? Like, that's nonsense. Like, being a reporter's hard. Really hard. You have to care. You have to do the hard work. You have to get up every single day and say, I want to get to the closest approximation of the truth without any fear, without any favoritism. You don't do that by popping off on Twitter. You don't do that by having an opinion. You do it by doing the hard work.
Yeah, come on. Good clap, everybody. Whoa. First.
And then you see the Morning Joe talking heads. They're all applauding that guy's response. I mean, it's all political, though. Their end is not a validation of their profession. It's more towards diminishing a platform that, in their eyes, is conservative now. It's driving conservative values, which is actually not the case. Let me see if I got it here. Oh, no, not here. It's actually not the case. CNN actually found that the audience on the X platform is pretty close to 50-50, liberal and conservative. So it's actually a good mix of viewpoints that's happening there, believe it or not. Oh, yeah, that shifting gears again here. The tariffs going online. I tried to find some good videos and see if I could do an AI translation on them. It just didn't work out, but let's see.
Being sort of the pass remain in Mexico, all of these sort of programs
But again,
that had
Mexico
developed.
has actually put a lot more border security on its southern border.
It's really working wonders. This is
Yeah,
crazy.
again, border crossings are down 75%.
It's really working wonders. So, I mean, this is the back and forth now, right? For 3 years, it was really working wonders. And then all of a sudden, when the election got tight, I don't know if it's February or March, all of a sudden it started working wonders. And that's the only time frame that a lot of these talking heads have as a point of reference.
They're back to what they were under Trump.
If I were her, I would be prepared for.
So that's not really a winning argument. Like, look, we just made it like what Trump had it as, right?
My country to possibly have United States military incursions to take out the drug factories and the people who do this to us.
So you think we should not only have a trade war,
Yes.
we should have a military war with Mexico?
I think we have to do what we have to do to stop.
I'm glad we all
drugs.
agree we should be de-escalating.
I think.
It sounds like Remember the Alamo. I mean, it sounds
For
crazy.
for
Like
people who
you're
are
going to
dying
send.
in
So
Kentucky,
not
it
only are
is.
we going to send the military on people who are here in the United States, we're now going to send the military over the border to attack Mexico.
No, I think.
Again, it's Americans who are bringing the drugs
I think
over.
I think there
90%
are
of the drugs coming
strategic
in
ways
are
to use
from
the United
Americans.
States military to control immigration here and drugs there. And Mexico needs to pay attention to this man and work with us or face the consequences of what.
Yeah, so you hear how they add one more piece to it. Go to the border and attack Mexico. It's like, what are you talking about? That's not what we're trying to do here at all. It's more of a crowd control type measure, right? Kind of keeping people not to cross the border, right? That's not the intent here. I don't know what they were talking about. So someone's asking in the chat, look up Ted Cruz said about the ceasefire with Lebanon. Okay. Give me just a sec, y'all. Ted. Where is Ted Cruz? I'm guessing this happened today. Well, maybe I can't say today. I should say yesterday, or this week at least. Okay, not finding it. There's a 5 days ago. So x.com. Let's see if Ted Cruz said something on his X page. Oh, need to send everybody to the Denver mayor's home now. I guess is that what you're talking about? All right, let's get back to it. So CNN again having a meltdown. We talked about it earlier, but the government, not the government, the Department of Government Efficiency, they're going to look at everything, which I'm really excited about, but they're also looking at the IRS in a good level of detail. Because honestly, what do you need 87,000 people for? To do all these manual type processes? Why is that? Leverage some artificial intelligence and let it have at it. But that 87,000 becomes 87, honestly. There's no reason that people need to manually compute. It just should be by exception. They should not be tabulating this stuff one by one on their own. And so he just called out that there's an additional $20 billion of spend asked for. It may be over the next couple of years, but it could be also to fund, more of those new employees they want. We got a clip of Rubio. Let me see if I can get to when he talks about the IRS employees.
Family friends had a loss in their family, but the federal government and politics in general are focused on. There is a universe of difference between the stuff we spend time voting on and talking about and arguing about in politics and in this place and what people are worried about on a daily basis. I know a lot of you think that everyone's glued to their TV and Twitter watching everything we're doing here tonight. They're not. They might know something's going on tonight, maybe. You go to a CVS or a Walgreens, everything's locked up behind that little plastic case because people just walk in and steal the stuff. It's a spirit of widespread, rampant criminality, and it's worse in other parts of the country. One of the reasons why people are leaving these other places. These are once beautiful, glorious cities. They're unlivable. Here I'm staying. The only one. Mexico doesn't allow you to. You can't do that to Mexico. You can't do that to Canada. You can't do that in Europe, but you can do it here. People know it. That's what they're worried about. A huge problem. And they're worried about the price of everything. People focus on gas. It's funny, the president said he couldn't control gas prices until they started going down a little. One of the reasons why it's going down, people are driving less. They're not going on vacation. They're not taking the boat out because it's expensive. Frankly, that's what they wanted. Do not be fooled. That's what they wanted. They were not unhappy about high gas prices. They were just upset that it happened a few months before an election. But the Democrats and the left, they were not unhappy about high gas prices. The necessities. That's what's going up in price. Housing, clothes, stuff. What have we spent our time focused on? People, something that does not exist. In the 5,500 years of human history, every single pregnant person that's ever dollars of federal money, of your money, people's money, poured right into the economy. We had a supply shortage, and we created more demand with all that money. Anyway, that's what people are worried about. Inflation, the crime, the border, the real life stuff. What have we spent our time focused on and fighting around here? I can tell you, first, a fake, and I mean a fake, a completely fake electoral rights crisis, election rights crisis. People, we have a military that likes, this basically is build back. This is just a smaller version.
So he goes on to argue about the negative points of a bill that was in front of him, I don't know, a couple of years ago now. Which, the basis of which, I think it was it the infrastructure bill? In any case, it incorporated that IRS earmark in there. And I looked up some data points. So in 22, there were 79,000 IRS employees. 79,000. That's pretty crazy. That's a lot of people. Like, what do all these people do in the IRS? Okay, what do... Oh, let's see. Excuse me. What do they do? Tax examiners, customer service, criminal, IT, human resources, lawyers, accountants, communication, public affairs. Okay. It doesn't sound sharing, but the projection here is what's crazy. 110,000 for 2025. So you're going to go from 80,000 to 110,000. That's like an additional 30,000 in just 3 years. Pretty remarkable. So ideas are getting thrown around to simplify the tax code. This one being the UK as an example. But I don't know. We'd have to think that one through. I'm good with a consumption-based tax, flat tax that nobody really can escape from, right? If you have a flat tax in place, the higher consumption will be the folks that have higher levels of consumption. They'll be the ones that kind of have to deal with it and pay into that more than others. Let me just close this one up. All right, so Kamala came out there. You've probably seen this across the internet. This snippet of her speech, she gave us, it's like a second concession speech. It's really weird. Like, excuse me. It felt a little bit odd listening to her talk through it. But look at her demeanor, and we'll pause and think through it here.
I just have to remind you, don't you ever let anybody take your power from you. You have the same power that you did before November 5th. And you have the same purpose that you did. And you have the same ability to engage and inspire. So don't ever let anybody or any circumstance take your power from you.
Okay, so that was the official version that was put out there. Many media outlets, it was reposted quite a few times. But what they didn't really put out there was the full version. I mean, this is what, 28 seconds? So out of the, and luckily for you, I'm posting the full version here. Out of the 13 and a half minutes or so, excuse me, guys, after the 13 and a half minutes, minutes, they only found a 28-second clip that they felt they could use of what Harris said. So let's run through this. This is interesting stuff. Why do another concession speech at this point? Why do you really need to do another concession speech? I don't know.
Good afternoon, everyone. To everyone who's on the call, I can't express my deep gratitude to you. Personally, of being on this ticket was the privilege of a lifetime to be with Vice President Harris. But as an American, to see you out there and to see the work that you did, to know that you put your heart, your soul, your time, your talent, your treasure into something bigger than yourselves, the promise of this country, a place where everyone belongs, where no one needs to go hungry or be unsheltered, and where differences of opinion can be celebrated and differences of ideas. And you put that out there and you worked hard for it. And for that, I am forever grateful. I also recognize the emotions you're going through, and I share those with you. As the Vice President often says, we weren't running against something, we were running for something. And to watch the joy, the vision, the compassion, the decency that the Vice President brought to this, and that each and every one of you reflected every place we went, the caring and the sense of joy.
The Ted Cruz comment, I thought I did here. Let me bring it up. Boom. Is this it? Send all of the illegal immigrants to Denver mayor's home? Because they're already being sent to sanctuary cities, so I guess this would be like one-upping that process.
Boy, I know it's incredibly disappointing now, and look, candidly, it's a bit scary because there's a very different vision that's being put out there. But now,
about the ceasefire in Lebanon. I did not find what he said about the ceasefire in Lebanon.
The light to shine through. We need to be able to be that hope for the neighbor who's really wondering. We need to be that anchor for the folks who are wondering what's next. And each of you did the work. You took time out of your busy lives and you continued to do it. And it makes a difference. On the campaign trail, I would ask.
So oddly enough, I'm still receiving email notifications from the not Biden-Harris, the Harris-Walz campaign asking for donations. One of the donations is specifically for a recount fund, a recount that is not happening. There's a lot of, in terms of outreach, that's a lot of that stuff that's going on here.
There will be a day of reckoning when it will be asked, what did you do during the 2024 campaign? Well, I know the people on this call can say everything they possibly could. And for that, as an American, I'm incredibly grateful. And I mentioned that just yesterday, the product of the things the Vice President fought for and the things that she got done, we had the final pot of money from the American Rescue Plan that we were able to put $5 million here in Minnesota into food assistance for hungry families during this holiday season. That's the type of stuff you are fighting for. That's the type of things that make a difference. And
notice he used the keyword fighting again. They're always in a fight with something or someone.
Those things are just as important now as they were before Election Day. And so I hope all of you take care of yourselves, take care of your families, find the place in your community to heal both yourselves and your community. And then when you're ready to get back in this fight, because it continues on. And I know that I've said it often on the campaign trail, I'm preaching to the choir. I couldn't be prouder to be with a choir that's on this call. You did everything that was asked. I also would have to say, I think all of us saw the possibility. And I
Interesting if this is all part of a recorded Zoom call.
know there's a bit of a feeling of loss because we saw what a real leader looks like. We watched a speech on the ellipse the week before the election where Vice President Harris delivered on the best of America. She delivered the best of our better angels. She delivered a vision where all of us mattered. She did it with grace and dignity and continued to do that every single day. She is still in this fight. She is doing it every single day. She is not done with her current job, and she's not done.
Still in this fight. Again, it's a fight. But who are we fighting against is my question. Recent video I posted too, it's like, who are we fighting against? I can fill in the blank because sometimes they say it's the rich. But even then, you tax them more, then what? What do you do? What are you going to do with that money, right? Robin Hood economics, according to the Democrat Party, is taking money from one set of billionaires and giving it to a different set of billionaires who are the ones that funded your campaigns with millions in donations, and you reward them with billions of contracts.
Being part of it with all of you. And as I said, personally, it was a privilege to be on this ticket. it was a personal privilege to be able to become friends with an incredible leader, which someone who was willing to take on some of the toughest fights and continues to do so. And I would just ask all of you to join me in welcoming our Vice President, Kamala Harris.
So this was entirely part of a call. I'll have to look up who the call's audience was. It sounds like it's folks that were volunteers for the campaign or just worked at different field offices for the campaign across the country. So it does make sense to give them, you know, I'm teasing, right? Saying they were giving yet another concession speech here. There's already two, and then it's like we don't need a third and a fourth here. But you would want to kind of package things up, allow people to kind of move back into their day-to-day routines with some sort of a good feeling or good memory of the event. And I think that's what they're after here, because they don't want to have people be disillusioned in any way, to where they just disengage from the political process altogether. They didn't like how that worked out. You know, they just disengage and don't come back to it the next go round. Holy cow, that was an extremely long and excruciating smile. I don't know what happened there. I got to rewind it. You guys got to watch this with me, okay? Just watch it's at least a 2-second squeeze, like a tight squeeze of a smile.
Me in welcoming our Vice President, Kamala Harris.
Thank you, Tim.
And then in a whiny voice. Sorry. Reminds me of the nanny, just this whiny voice, like, thank you. Like, what's going on here? The demeanor is really off. Not politician-like, not professional. Let's let her keep going here.
Thank you. Back at you, brother. You are such an extraordinary leader. And
so Armando the Wanderer, what the heck does that even mean, that they're still in the fight? What type of damage or prevention or sandbagging methods are they going to do before January? You know, it's not uncommon for folks to protest the results of the election or question the integrity of it. Famously, George Bush in 2020, that's what the Democrats did with him as they were confirming things in the Senate. One by one, each of the Democrats went up and spoke to how illegitimate this process was, and as well as the presidency, which is odd, right? So it's not something that's without precedent, behaving in that manner. And yet we have in front of us another chance to see how that might unfold, right?
we have become lifelong friends. I just, in front of everyone, I want to thank you, Tim. You lead with courage, you lead with heart, you see the people, you care about the people. You believe in uplifting the dignity to which all people are entitled, and
we need more burgers.
And you do it and you have a sense of fun when you're doing it. But you are an extraordinary leader, and obviously the people of Minnesota are very, very lucky to have you there, but you are a national leader.
Yeah, Armando, it's odd. Where freedom of speech begins and ends, it's all relative, right? In their minds. There's not a pretty clear definition of it that everyone can kind of, go from.
And a dear friend, and thank you. Noel, thank you for your work in Pennsylvania and all that you did for our campaign. And let me just say to everyone on this call, I am so grateful for you. And I'm so thankful to you. I'm thankful for your love of our country and your willingness to put the work into it. I'm thankful for the faith that you put in me and Governor Walz and our team. And I am thankful because I know your character is such that you're not going to get knocked down. And you're in this fight. And you're in it.
Again, another fight. You're in this fight. What the heck is going on here, right? What fight are you in? What are we fighting for? There's always some kind of here's the theme that the fight always gets associated with, some type of marginalization, right? You could be marginalized based on personal traits, right? You go down the list of them. There's many. If it's not personal traits, then you can socially be marginalized because of your social class, right? Working class, so forth. You can get marginalized because of that. And so they put a lot of stuff out there to make sure that people realize that they are marginalized, and so that they demand something be done about it. And of course, who better to do it than the Democrat Party to swoop in and save the marginalized, right? But in the strategy that they've set up, it's never ending. You're never really going to get past that point where you've won the fight. Because in order to win the fight, you have to have some vision of what good looks like. What is success at the end of the day? What does that mean, right? You just kind of go out there and say, we'll continue the fight. There's no definition on outcome. What is the outcome you help to achieve or to provide for people, right? You want people to have, equal opportunity to apply to the same colleges and universities coming out of high school. You want equal opportunity to access small business loans. I don't know.
For all the right reasons. And I know that about you. It's why you're part of this call right now and all the work that you did over those 107 days and even before. That's your nature. And the outcome of this election obviously is not what we wanted. It is not what we worked so hard for. But I am proud of the race we ran. And your role in this was critical. What we did in 107 days was unprecedented. Think about the coalition that we built, and we were so intentional about that.
So now they're in a bit of a make-believe land, the coalition that we built. It's very clear and it's very well accepted now that Trump is the one that built a true coalition and that moved the needle on specific demographics that completely caught everyone by surprise. So case in point, first-time voters went to Trump, heavily went to Trump. He had the majority of them, I believe. Hispanic males, black males heavily shifted towards Trump. I don't believe it was a majority, but when you're at 10% and all of a sudden you get to 45, that's a huge base of voters that you just acquired all of a sudden, even if it's not the majority, to where it makes winning some of these swing states impossible. Because in a lot of cases, based on history, the last two cycles, you would have said only a few thousand votes are going to separate things in those states. But wouldn't you know it, the demographic analysis of who went for Trump, it completely caught the Harris campaign by surprise. They had no idea of the appeal that Trump had. In fact, I think that's something that's being discounted quite a bit, that maybe on both sides, they don't appreciate where the other candidate is really making connections and where they're really making inroads. How you judge that, what kind of metrics you put on that, I don't know. They always do these focus groups, and I'm always leery of outcomes from these focus groups, especially with how wrong the 2016 election was. So we just have what they say directly to go off of at this point, right? I mean, there's not much of anything else.
You would hear me talk about it all the time. Being a daughter of parents who are active in the civil rights movement, I know and believe that the best movements that are about progress in our country mean that it's leaders that we are dedicated to the coalition.
I mean, cue the word salad. What is she trying to say here? Let me just back it up a little bit.
Know and believe that the best movements that are about progress in our country mean that it's leaders that we are dedicated to the coalition, to bringing people together that seemingly have nothing in common, but have everything in common. A coalition where we bring people together based on a deep love of our country and our understanding that the strength of our country will be a function of our willingness to put in the work, and that we will do that work with a sense of joy, yes, with a sense of work
There comes the joy again.
ethic and understanding it's going to be hard, but it's good work. It's good work to be engaged in a collective fight for America's future. And it means so much to me and to Governor Walz.
Let me rewind that
you
real
knocked
quick.
on doors. You engaged in a collective fight for America's future.
Engaged in a collective fight for America's future. Okay, America's future. But I think it still boils down to the marginalization, though. But that one's too high level. At its core, it all heads towards that. Who's been marginalized? What's been marginalized? Are you part of a marginalized group? And then bringing in the emphasis of, we are the ones that are going to help pull you out of it. We're the ones that are going to, remove that barrier of that bad actor that's in the way, that's holding you down. And usually it's the system. When they talk about systemic, I'm just going to say marginalization. I don't want to use the keywords. It's systemic, or it's the rich. The rich are always kind of cited here.
And it means so much to me and to Governor Walz that you knocked on doors, you called friends.
And again, keep in mind, this is towards those volunteers, probably the top tier volunteers. Hey guys, if you're in the chat, please give me some likes. I'd appreciate it. There's a few people in here, looks like. If we can bump up the likes, maybe get a little bit more circulation going on the video. It's political ASMR. It's a little bit late. But I think I'm not going to do the whisper stuff, though. We're not going to do the Joe Biden stuff here in this in this live. But anyway, give me some likes. Want to get a little bit more circulation going. Hey, Mello, what's going on? Nice to see you again. What is it? Bebop. We know it's cold outside. When we go outside, it's cold. We should put that on a t-shirt. Hey, thanks for the like, fellow. Put that on a t-shirt for sure.
You called in favors. You said, hey, I showed up at your softball game. Now I need you to show up at the campaign office.
Wow. She's really ad-libbing here. I got to rewind this part. What did she just say?
You called friends. You called in favors. You said, hey, I showed up at your softball game. Now I need you to show up at the campaign office. You put in the time. It was personal for you. And you gave all that you could to support our campaign. Because of your efforts, get this, we raised an historic $1.4 billion, almost $1.5 billion from grassroots supporters alone. The most in presidential campaign history. Nearly 8 million donors contributed because of your efforts, get this, we raised an historic $1.4 billion, almost $1.5 billion from grassroots supporters alone. The most in presidential campaign history.
Grassroots supporters. What defines grassroots supporter? Let me see if my AI knows. Hey, you there, AI? No, I got to reload you again. It times out pretty quick. Y'all probably know that already. Yeah, somebody else mentioned that she does owe about $20 million in debt. Trump has said that he'd pay it. Just take him up on it. Stop sending me emails asking
Hey,
for money.
Masood. I'm here.
Well, that was an aggressive "I'm here" that the AI just gave me. I totally forgot what I was going to ask it now. Totally blank. What was I going to ask it? Let me just rewind it a bit. What the heck was I going to ask it? That really threw me off, guys.
Grassroots supporters alone.
Oh, here we go. Hey, in a political campaign, can you describe the definition of a grassroots supporter?
Sure. A grassroots supporter is someone who actively engages in a political campaign at a local level. They usually aren't professional politicians, but ordinary citizens who volunteer their time and effort to support a candidate or cause they believe in. They might attend rallies, distribute flyers, make phone calls to drum up support. It's all about the power of the people coming together to create change from the ground up without relying on big money or organizations. What do you want to know more about?
Okay, so they're basically saying small donations, more or less. But campaign costs are up 1.5 billion now. Yep. Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, we may be off by a decimal point or here or there, but effectively, Kamala spent 1.5 billion, still 20 million in debt. Trump raised about 1 billion. I don't even think he spent it all. Right? That's a huge disparity, right? Harris is done. Move on. We have the lame duck and transition the focus on. Yeah, but this is interesting though. I think that she's going to reemerge here. Is why I continue to be focused on her. She's going to reemerge as the potential candidate for governor in California, where Gavin Newsom will he's in his last term. So she may have a face in national politics going forward because California is just one of those states that their governor always is at the forefront. Not just because it was Arnold and so forth, but even when it was Gray Davis way back when, and he got recalled, they're always at the forefront of things. So she may be, laughing her head off again at some point here soon.
Most in presidential campaign history.
Most in presidential campaign history. She hasn't done anything in office for the past 4 years. I'm glad it's not another 4.
Nearly 8 million donors contributed an average donation of about $56 to fuel our people-powered campaign.
Wait a minute. Hey, buddy, you still there? I have some math I need your help with.
Of course.
Okay. So, hey, can you tell me what 8 million times 56 is?
8 million times 56 equals 448 million. 448 million. Any other numbers you want to crunch?
Excuse me, guys. Sorry, getting a congestion here. So 448 million is from her grassroots level of funding, right? 448 million. If it's 1.5, where did the other 2/3, and I'm just trying to keep the math simple, where did the other 2/3 come from? Hey, guys, give the live a like. I'd appreciate it. It feels like every like I get gets a little bit more circulation. I'd really appreciate it. The other 2/3, where did they come from, guys? She's touting that 8 million people gave donations that averaged about $56, but doggone it, it's like she got some pretty big, sizable ones from everyone else. Every rose has its thorn. She's politically weak and inconsistent in her chances of relevance. That around. I look like I pay taxes? Well, of course I pay taxes. Or you're talking about the expression on her face right now. Actually, the expression on her face looks like she just paid her taxes. That's what that's what happens to you. More billionaires donated to her. Yeah, I don't get the exact mechanisms that happen or that come into play, but it can't be an individual. It has to go through a political action committee, like Elon set up his America PAC or whatever. Then somehow those get put into the presidential fund. Have I heard of a scandal of Democrat donations filed under random people's names without their knowledge or knowing? I have heard about that. It's been a while now that that's happened. Interestingly enough, there's like some prank, package mail that you could send out that tell people that they have a automatic monthly withdrawal of $1,000 being donated to the Biden-Harris campaign or to the Harris-Walz campaign. That'll really give somebody a heart attack. But she looked like she just a box of wine. Very good call, Mello. Not only is it wine, but it's boxed wine on top of it. So just when you thought you hit rock bottom, you haven't really hit rock bottom until you're downing a box of wine. Not even a bottle.
And understand that the work that we did included the work that so many of you here did, which is to talk to first-time voters.
Hang on, I got to read these comments. Go here. You reacted easiest. I need to go tell other lives They look like they pay taxes. You might see me again someday. All right. All right. Partying with Beyonce. Guys, I was at the rally. I don't remember. I see some familiar names in here, but I don't remember if everyone caught it. But I was at the rally with Beyonce. I've got some videos on that. Check it out on my page. It was ridiculous. Beyonce spoke for 4 minutes max, 4 or 5 minutes, and introed Kamala, and that was that. And then people started around me, just in the spot that I was at, which was just behind the stage. Protesters started screaming their heads off. All kinds of stuff started happening. I mean, it was a mess. It was a mess out there. Oh no, don't do that. Okay. Do I think that Facebook dude is going to jail for voting fraud? No, he's not. He's repenting as we speak. He's openly kind of acknowledged it, and he can take the line now of, I felt pressured because the FBI and other law enforcement agencies actually went to him. And so he's probably going to go with there being open, like, I felt pressure, guys. And maybe he did feel a little bit of pressure, but he had probably some political leanings that aligned with it, so he just went along with it. But he's not going to go to jail. I mean, he had a meeting directly with Trump here. I think it's of greater value to the nation if he can set things right on Facebook too, because that has such a massive footprint. YouTube, I think, is even more massive than anybody right now. YouTube's like the biggest thing ever, but on Facebook, that's a good chunk out there. If he can set things right on that platform, I think there's more value in getting that cleaned up and getting him aligned with transparency and so forth than it is to do any sort of retributive action. Those that voted were more educated and informed by statistics instead of lies. Yeah, Chuck. Why is that Chuck? Well, I'm just going to call you Chuck. I think it was people's pocketbooks. I mean, that was the biggest data point that they saw, right? Trump rocks. Facebook dude's not going to jail. Agreed, Charles. 100% agree with you. Not going to jail. Yes, Trump. Tell all who voted for Trump rocks. Okay. All right. Good deal. Good deal. Hey, guys, I appreciate the likes. I see a couple more coming in. Give me some reactions on this new thing, kind of like they have on what's that thing on the TikTok, on the TikTok network. Send me some reaction stuff too, guys.
Many of you are first-time voters, and to talk about how being involved can make a difference, and that remains true. And that's one of the pieces that I just want us to please take away, that our fight for freedom and for opportunity and for
our fight for freedom. Like, is freedom really on the line? Was freedom really on the ballot? Yeah, Democrats definitely, Amber, did not get much choice in it. And I think that did demotivate some people. But there's still a gap of about 8 million that I don't know if anyone's going to reconcile. Because the demotivation I was thinking of might have been, in the tens of thousands. And if it was in the right state, that might have swung the election in the Electoral College. But I mean, it's just massive. The numbers, the disparity in the numbers between 2020 and now. Deport, says Juan. I'm excited for tariffs and stock buyback. Play it again. Is she drunk? So guys, I have this politicalcow.com. I have my notes published for them going over tonight. You can see the full clip. It's linked, well, let me zoom back out. It's just a card from my X post here. I published the full clip, not just the 28 seconds that the media has put out there. I think those were the best 28 seconds they could find out of this whole thing. But if you want to see her full message, here it is, right?
the promise of America, it included, for example, nearly almost 4 million first-time contributors to our campaign because of the work you did of helping people know that they can be engaged and that they're not outside, that they're inside, that we're all in this together. And that work continues. The work must continue of reminding ourselves that we have an ability to stay engaged in a way that will make a difference. The work that you all did, it's going to have lasting effect.
I don't know how you can meander and keep postponing the delivery of what you really mean. Like she's talking about the work that you did matters because, and then it's postponed. Like it just keeps going on. So yeah, Bear, is she drunk? Mellow indicated this is clearly a sign of boxed wine gone wrong. Harris is the original Haktua. Okay, Frank. Every live I'm in, somebody's got to throw that line in there. Thanks, Frank. If you believe she filmed this latest video on election night and not yesterday, the video becomes more understandable. You think this was her initial video message? Was that what you're getting at? I don't know. But Walls kicked it off, handed it over to her. It doesn't seem like it's a live kind of delivery. It seems like it's been pre-recorded, and it was pre-recorded and delivered to volunteers. They had some sort of a Zoom meeting, it seems like, and it was recorded, so it got published to, a number of networks. Let's see here. Can you try to look into a deep dive on Homeland Security? It's going to start there. I'll have to look at that for another live event. I need to do some research. I don't know if I agree with them being educated voters. A lot of the vote was mixed. Trump wins, but independents won. And if economic populist coding candidates won and left ballot measures passed. Her voice sounds hoarse from shouting into the abyss. What accent is she using today? Okay, you guys call the accent out as we keep playing it here. I think RFK Jr. and Tulsi really helped Trump win. They're more middle ground. Yep, 4 years of mess to come. Well, I don't know about 4 years of mess. Maybe of cleanup.
Again, I'll say, the election didn't turn out like we wanted it to. Certainly not as we planned for it to. But understand that the work we put into it was about empowering people. That's the spirit with the work we did. Our spirit and our work was about saying that it is a strength that we each have to lift people up as opposed to beating people down. It is a strength we have that has lasting effect. So all that work that you did that was about engaging with other people, engaging with perfect strangers and in their face seeing a neighbor, that has lasting effect. It reminds people that there are leaders like you.
It's funny. She gets a look on her face and she has this particular smile when she feels like she's being profound about something she's saying. There's narcissism in that too, similar to a couple of the other instances that I showed earlier. The gentleman at the, press association or whatever it was called, talking about how, being a journalist is hard, and you folks on the X platform, you're not real journalists. I don't know what you're thinking. It's like, what? What are you talking about? Elon was not being literal. He was just talking about how well people came together to share information, to vet information, to where that became its own aggregation system. You didn't have to rely on these news networks. But his insistence that people are not able to do that for themselves, bit of narcissism there, in that he's better than everyone else. And then, of course, do I have him up here? No, this is that Ted Cruz thing. Oh, that's just old. Wait.
Get a better fucking paying job.
Whoa, hold on. It's not just the moral superiority here. He just thinks he's better than everybody and that he knows better.
Do better in life. Get a fucking education.
And there's guys like this, right, that go out there and diminish everybody. Go get a better job. Go get a better education because I have one. Look at me, right? And he was coming down on people that voted for Trump because of inflation and so forth. And he was saying, like, don't cry about your groceries. Get a better job. Narcissism, diminishing people to make themselves feel better about themselves. It's a recurring theme that happens. It's very unfortunate, right? It's very unfortunate. You can't really, I think, connect with somebody that's in this perspective. And so I don't even try. I just move on with my day. It's not even worth it. 4 years of greatness is going to come. Yes. RFK should have been HUD. Oh, thanks for the hearts. Keep sending me likes, guys, and hearts and everything. Oh, no, those are hundreds. Thank you very much. Should have been nominated for HUD. He has great ideas for handling the housing crisis. You know, there's nothing stopping him from sharing his ideas, in all honesty. I mean, when you have a leadership group like that, you can draw ideas from any source. And if you are a good leader, you will seek out good ideas from any source. So if it means, hey, RFK, let me meet with you at least once a month so that we can talk about some of your perspectives that you have on this, then, you know, whomever took over HUD should do that. His laser focus on HHS, I think, is going to be pretty critical, though. I never thought of the things in the terms that he's talked about until more recently. That, you know, I've heard it mention some of the quality of the food products here versus in Europe. High fructose corn syrup, it's been in everything. I grew up on that stuff, but in all honesty, why can't it just be cane sugar? Right? There's certain things like that that I think we can shift and fix and make better. Oakland, slow accent that reeks of liar. Let me be clear, the passage of time is important. It is important for time to do what time does, which is pass. I'm gonna have to take a screenshot. That's a pretty good one. Did she say that, or did you just come up with that? Oh, that's miraculous. That's a beautiful thing right there. All right. So anyway, you could look up these clips. This is a short that I just published. How many views did I get on this short?
If you are so...
Not many. Not that many. Okay, not many going on here. All right, let's get back over here. All right, so let's listen to it. So she's, again, feeling like she's being profound or something. You made that up. That's a beautiful line. That should be on like a t-shirt. It's totally t-shirt material. Building walls is the same as destroying bridges. Building walls is the same as destroying bridges. Scratching my head. Yeah, publish those files. We need more transparency. Those things need to get published. We need to understand who's in it, everything.
And you know, sometimes in the darkest moments, people lose faith in that. Are there people out there that feel that way? And you reminded people that yes, there are. And there are a lot of us. And that strength cannot be taken from us. That is our strength. It cannot be taken from us. So listen, as I said the day after the election, I still strongly believe the light of America's promise will burn bright.
Oh, okay. What a nice burning bright clip. Okay, so you want to see the current. Now, I think the person you're thinking of, Amber, she's actually the assistant director. So let's look up assistant director of HHS. Google doesn't even want to show me a picture. Wikipedia, do you got one? Oh, here we go. That's a real beauty right there. How do you like that, Amber? That one's just for you. So, assistant director, we only hear and see her. We don't see the actual director. I did not realize she was the assistant director, to be honest. That caught me off guard when I learned about that. So Frank says, Trump said that he wouldn't tax overtime hours at work. Can he really make that happen? So the entire Congress, House of Representatives and Senate is all Republican. They've all learned their lesson not to cross Trump, not to be obstructionist, as was in the first term. And he, like for policies like that, they're going to have another package of tax cuts that go through, and it'll include that, I'm sure, in there. So it should not be very difficult for him to do. As soon as he's in there, it'll probably be one of his 100-day items, right? Because it's a quick win that he could help people with. Just get that in front of Congress, have them draft that up, review it, approve it, call it good. Why have I left the screen on this for so long? I don't know. I apologize, folks. Let's get back over here. Answer to your question, your latest one, Frank, yes, it is.
As long as we never give up and we keep fighting.
Again, we keep fighting. We keep fighting. What are we fighting against, guys? What are we fighting against? A systemic marginalization, the rich who hold you down. And remember, there's billionaires behind Kamala as well. I know Elon's out there, right? But again, who are we fighting against? I've said this before. If they actually go out there, there's 1,000 billionaire families in the United States. If they take all of their assets, just seize all their properties, everything, and put it in the national treasury, you can't even run the government for 6 months. So then what do, right? You literally have run out of other people's money. There's no end to this, because some people take some satisfaction, and it's like retribution almost. Like, go get them, right? Why? Trump said a lot of impossible things to do. That's the thing is, in a lot of major corporations and in leadership, your goal is not mediocrity, right? You want to strive towards a pretty big, ambitious goal. I think the example that comes to my mind is something that's been on a lot of people's minds lately in our industry. Blockbuster Video was at the top of the game, right? Video rentals, late fees, everything. They're at the top of the game. Everybody went there Friday night, whatever. Everyone went to Blockbuster Video. But then they started thinking certain things were too difficult or too much of an unknown or too big of a risk. So they didn't take it, right? They stayed with their existing business model. They played it safe. And now they're bankrupt, right? And what's the disruption that came their way is Netflix. They had a chance to actually invest in and buy Netflix. Invest in or buy Netflix, but they passed on it. And the mail order DVD service that they started was quickly matched, by Blockbuster. But again, at that point in time, Netflix was just trying to make some money. They're buying their time until internet speeds started to normalize across the country. People started getting, faster than a 1 or 3 megabit connection. Started getting 10, 100 everywhere. Then their streaming service really had a platform to move on. So when you have a good leader, they will push their people. And in this case, it's his cabinet. It's all the agencies in the government. He will push them to achieve great things, to achieve a vision that doesn't 100% have certainty around how it'll be attained, but that's the goal that we're going to move towards, right? And I think large corporations shouldn't be able to back political candidates. Who knows the back deals and the promises? How does that work? Let me ask. Hey, are you still with me there, AI buddy? Nope. I gotta restart him. I'm gonna ask a question because you see that on
Hey, Masood.
OpenSecrets.org, right?
How's it going?
Hey, can you tell me if corporations can give direct donations to presidential candidates?
Nope. Corporations can't give direct donations to presidential candidates. They can create PACs, political action committees, that can raise money from employees or members and donate it to campaigns, but direct contributions from corporate treasuries are a no-go. Anything else you're curious about with campaign finance?
Nope, that was it. Thanks.
All right. I'm here if you need anything else.
All right. So they do it indirectly, right? My corp has an employee political action committee, and it's targeted at supporting candidates that are supportive of our industry, oil and gas, right? We'll just call it energy because we're hitting a bunch of different spots. But so there is an employee political action committee. You can contribute towards it. You vote. You can have a voice in it. They give you feedback as to what's going on. I've seen other companies do a similar type of structure, but it's not huge dollars, right? It's not huge money. So when you see the totals out there, I wonder where they come from. I'd have to dig into that with Open Secrets because I feel like I've seen a graph that shows, hey, Microsoft gave 80 million to this candidate. Google gave however much. It's like, where are they getting that data point from? Is it the aggregation of all employees who individually gave, and they're looking them up, or they're grouping them by employer? I don't know what's going on with that now. I feel like I knew at one point, and now I just don't know. I'm going to have to sort that one out. Like George Soros. Yeah, the thing with the backroom deals, I don't think as much of it is an issue with the presidency because of, Trump is rather well off. I think it's a bigger deal with the rest of Congress that we need to get money out of politics, not allow them to make trades like they do based on insider info that they have, and employ term limits on them. You do that combination and a lot of the corruption starts to go away because those are the not just acceptable, but legal means that they have to, be corrupt. But how will they face the Chinese economic power growth? How will they face the... So, and again, this is my opinion. I feel that China actually needs the United States more than the United States needs China. A lot of the factories moving back, those types of concepts, right? A factory that went out to China, maybe it displaced 2,000 workers locally in the United States 20, 25 years ago. And, you could hire 5,000 people in China to do it because the labor is a lot cheaper. So the labor arbitrage made sense then. But now with robotics, if you look at any of the videos of how Elon's Tesla factories are run, the robotics, the automation that's in place is astonishing to where you bring that same plant back and it's not going to be an equivalent 2,000 jobs. Maybe it's 200, maybe it's 50. And those folks that are there are mostly going to be doing quality control, and they're going to be maintaining the machines that actually do all the building. So the game has changed. Arbitrage now is based on robotics and AI, not necessarily on low-cost geographies. So you see a lot of companies that are continuing to move jobs overseas for low-cost geographies. They're going to fall behind pretty quick as more and more companies start to realize, hey, we can really push the needle. We can really accelerate our earnings potential, improve our margins if we double down on AI and on robotics, depending on what industry they're in. She scares you. She does have a scary look on her face right now. Make sure you stock up on Pepe coin. You sure about Pepe? Not financial advice, but you know, all the meme coins just freak me out. I've just not done anything with them. I think Avalanche is a good one if you guys want to jump in on something, but not financial advice. We will all be rich in about 15 years from now. Don't sweat it. We're going to make it. Amber 100% agreed. Oh. Well, here in Washington, Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates suggested taxes here on things, and they're not. Yeah, some people like that have outsized influence. A water tax in the rainy state. Man, they have no limits to their insanity. There's no limits on water tax. Yeah, like I'm in a part of Texas where, you know, we get good rain, but there's drought periods. And during those drought periods, your water bill does adjust if you exceed a certain threshold, right? But that's a different story. When you've got plenty of water and rain like that, that's unusual. Yeah, Bill Gates being involved in politics himself, that is pretty doggone frightening. I don't like the sound of that. He's one scary dude to me.
And the fight.
Because, you know, he was never really a creator. He was more of a business person and able to kind of make deals. So the growth that he put together for Microsoft and the place he put that company in, it was a lot of, you know, his tireless efforts to, you know, make acquisitions and, you know, pull different things together. You're 100% in Pepe this year, no reply? My goodness. Bill Gates being involved. Okay, we're going to have to look at this Pepe thing. Okay. Sidetrack again. Trading view. Ooh, look at that. 70% off. Guys, I'm not sponsored by this. I wish I were. 70% off plus a free month Black Friday sale. Oh, my wife mentioned some Black Friday stuff. I got to talk to her later. Okay, guys. This is a good deal. That 70% off, that is ridiculous. Okay, how do I get out of this? Super charts, go. Yeah, get out of here. Get out of here. Okay, let's go Pepe. Pepe's on Coinbase, isn't it? Yeah, let's go. Pepe on Coinbase. Where are we at right now? Do I have a monthly chart? Which chart do I have up? This is daily. Pepe just started on Coinbase? Is that right? Wow. Okay, how about that? I'll have to get... Okay, MEXC might have a bit of a longer history. Ooh, look at this little move here Pepe did. When was this? Beginning of November. So that's double. That's triple. So in about 14 days, it's tripled its value. But what does that mean? Is it at all-time highs? Looks like it's at all-time highs here, huh? I don't know. What's the market cap of the Pepe? All right, I'm getting distracted, guys. I'm getting distracted. Yeah, leave that page. $100% in Pepe. That's a scary thought to me personally, but wow. If that one skyrockets for you, I am like proud of you. Good job. If we can get Johnny's back. Wow, 540%. Wow, that's crazy.
And the fight that fueled our campaign a fight for freedom and opportunity, that did not end on November 5th. A fight for the dignity of all people, that did not end on November.
A fight for the dignity of all people. What do you interpret that as? Hey, buddy, I need your interpretation on something.
Oh, sure thing, Masood. What's on your mind?
What does this phrase mean to you? And the phrase is a fight for the dignity of all people.
Ooh, I'd say it means standing up for the rights and respect of every person, regardless of background, identity, or status. It's about ensuring everyone gets equal treatment and opportunities. What does it bring to mind for you?
Is it very actionable as a statement?
I'd say it's a powerful aspiration, but it could use more specifics to guide action. What does dignity mean in different contexts? How can it be defended or promoted? Those details would help turn the sentiment into concrete steps. What's your take?
Can you give me an example of how someone might use that phrasing as a platitude or as a way to kind of meander in a speech?
Ah, got it. Someone could use it as a broad principle in a speech to highlight their commitment to human rights. For instance, a politician might use it to segue into discussing specific policies or actions they plan to take to address inequality. It might sound something like, "In our fight for the dignity of all people, we must push for policies that ensure fair wages and access to quality health care." Does that fit what you were looking for?
Yeah, did you hear how it altered his voice to sound like a politician? That was some good stuff. All right. Bye, Preepy. No worries, no reply on the sidetrack. No worries at all. I've been thinking about starting a separate channel on crypto, but it's like, there's only so much time. I need to focus on the thing that I can run my mouth most about. Time should be... All right, let me continue with her speech. And again, for the folks that are just joining, this is her message to volunteers across the country. There's a big Zoom call of some sort. Of course, it was recorded, shared with the media. It's now part of official record being C-SPAN and some, archives, National Archives and stuff. Walls kicked it off, handed it over to her. Mello in the chat appropriately pointed out it seemed like there was some boxed wine involved. Let's let it continue to play out here. A lot of platitudes, a lot of statements that are made where you can then see in her eyes and expression on her face that she feels like she's being very profound with what she's saying. But it's one thing to make people think, but it's another thing to inspire people to action, right? Like, do you want people to think that you have a level of sophistication in how you speak or your thought processes, or that you have a commitment to action to better their lives? Oh, let me just check out the chat here. So what I just got from your assistant is that AI wrote Kamos P. Yeah, pretty much, right? They just asked the AI to write it. Then why would she try to keep nonviolent inmates locked up longer than needed in Cali? Yeah, that stuff's all backwards, right? Because then the violent ones, unfortunately, why do we keep hearing about them reoffending because they got paroled out or whatever it might be, right? Yeah. Hey guys, if you can give me some likes, I'd really appreciate it. Want to see if I could bump up to about 50 here for this live. And I appreciate the folks that are giving me some reactions as we kind of go here as well. Oops, I don't know what just happened. What the heck just happened? So appreciate it, guys. All right, let's continue with
November 5th. A fight for the future? A future in which all people receive the promise of America? No. A fight that is about a fight for the ideals of our nation, the ideals that reflect the promise of America, that fight's not over. No. A fight that is about a fight for the ideals of our nation? No. A fight that is November 5th, a fight for...
Wait, did she just say a fight that is about a fight? I gotta like break that one down in my mind. A fight that is about a fight. Worst DA you ever had? Oh, wow. Well, there's some schools of thought out there that think she's going to become California's next governor. Yeah. I've seen too many instances, too many like innocent people just be put in harm's way. It's 2811. Oh. Yeah, today is Thanksgiving. Slow down to 75% playback speed for a few seconds. Can I do that on here? This is the video player on X. I don't know if it'll let me. I'll have to upload it to YouTube. The X player doesn't let you slow down to speeds like that.
The dignity of all people, that did not end on November 5th.
Okay, here we go.
A fight for the future? A future in which all people receive the promise of America? No. A fight that is about a fight for the ideals of our nation, the ideals that reflect the promise of America, that fight's not over. So look, we still have a lot to fight for, okay? A future where every American can pursue their dreams, ambitions, and aspirations, where the women of America have the right to make decisions about their own body, not their government telling them what to do.
I'm getting lost, y'all. I'm really getting lost. Hang on. I'm going to have... What can I have to do this? I can't really tell my AI to listen to this and interpret it. It's all happening through the same system here, but... Let me see. Hang on 1 second. Can I get it on my... No. Anyway. If there was a transcript of this, I would ask it to interpret it for me. The Supreme Court had to force her to let people out. Yeah, I heard that. Live in California. Happening. She won't be governor of California. I will make sure of it. Well, yeah. I'm sure there's a lot of groups that will get together and protest and stuff. I mean, she's not like the most popular person in the world, you know? In fact, she was the least popular vice president in history based on approval rating. And on top of that, in late 2023, as the election cycle was really getting going, The Atlantic, which is a very liberal-leaning publication, wrote an article that was titled The Kamala Problem. And the article went in depth as to why Kamala Harris is a liability for Biden's reelection campaign, and went as far as suggesting perhaps she is the one that needs to get swapped out, which looking back now seems very ironic because clearly they weren't taking Biden's health condition into account there. But way back when they called it out. And so somehow between late 2020, you fast forward, 4, 5, 6 months later, all of a sudden she turns it around and she becomes a really excellent candidate for the party. She can represent the people. How did that happen, right? I think it's stuff like that either demotivated people from going out there to vote. I still think that 8 million gap in voters is bizarre, but people were demotivated. People voted in the opposite direction if they were undecided because clearly the wool was being pulled over their eyes or being attempted to be pulled over, and they didn't like it, right? She didn't like it at all. All right, let's let her keep going here.
Our fight for the rule of law, for freedom for all, for equal justice, for the sacred principle that everyone, no matter where they start out, has certain fundamental rights and freedoms that must be upheld. That's not over. That fight's still in us, and it burns strong. And I know this is an uncertain time. I'm clear-eyed about that. I know you're clear-eyed about it. And it feels heavy. And I just have to remind you, don't you ever let anybody take your power from you. You have the same power that you did before November 5th. And you have the same purpose that you did. And you have the same ability to engage and inspire. So don't ever let anybody or any circumstance take your power from you. Look, this mission that we have, it takes hard work. But as you've heard me say many times,
What is this mission that they have? I'm still not clear on that, y'all. If somebody can help me out with that in the chat. The fighting being endless and continuous is something that she's mentioned quite a few times now, but the idea that, the idea that there's a clear mission behind it all, I'm at a loss for. I don't understand that. That's a pretty big gap for me.
we like hard work. Hard work is good work.
I'm going to clip that. That's a good... We like hard work. Hard work is good work. Oh, boy. That's like out of a children's book. It's weird that when we had mail-in ballots, Democrats crushed it. Yeah, with about 8 million votes are still... there's an 8 million vote variance from 2020 till now, which I don't believe they have a good explanation for at all.
Hard work can be joyful work. And in doing our work, we will remain committed and intentional about building community, building coalitions, reminding people that we all have so much more in common than what separates us. We will be armed with the faith and the fuel that tells us what is possible.
Faith and the fuel. I don't know. Maybe she was looking for a couple of words that begin with F. I don't know. Looks like Brian wants a shout out. What's going on, Brian? Give me a like. Hey, 31 likes. Thanks, guys. But Brian, thanks for joining in here. I appreciate you very much. If they get the immigrants to vote, who do they think they will vote for? The ones giving out the free money or the ones that want them out? So the challenge with immigration, as you entered into the 2020 cycle, 2020 was a census year, right? Oh, it's every 10 years, right? Hey, you there, AI buddy? Reset itself. Just want to make sure I don't misspeak on when the census is done. You know what I mean?
Good morning, Masood.
Right,
what can I do for you? I'm rolling up my virtual sleeves.
Hey, can you tell me about the United States Census in terms of how often it is done and when the next census would be?
Sure. The U.S. Census happens every 10 years. So it goes down in years ending in 0. The last one was in 2020, so the next one's coming up in 2030. Census data is crucial. It informs everything from political representation to funding decisions. Do you want to dig into anything else about it?
Yeah, so when do the census data, once it's collected, when does the updates to the representation data get reflected?
Once the census data is collected, the updated representation data affects congressional seats and electoral college votes. This process, called reapportionment, kicks in the following year. So the 2020 census shaped House seats for the 2022 elections. It's a big deal. States can gain or lose seats based on population shifts.
Okay, there you go.
Anything else census-related you want to dive into?
There you go. No, I'm not going to dive into anything else there. Who's going to tell her more? Her more in common is the opposite of intersectionality. Girlfriend told me yesterday that art lover, come on, man. This it's not that kind of live. It's not that kind of live. Don't bring that kind of vibe in here. About to pack and leave. Man, come on. Chicken Marsala, if you look at the total amount of votes in 2020 in year, it's actually 4 million votes. Is it 4 million now? Wow, how did they narrow the gap? They keep finding new votes over the last month. It's a little crazy to me. Like, how do you find millions of votes or not count them? I mean, India within 2 days or a day counted 600 million votes. So what's up with that? Why can't we do the same thing? Anyway, so back to, I think no reply. You had this comment. Was it y'all? Oh no, it's BR. So it goes back to the census, because the census does not count just citizens. It counts all residents. And in some cases, the Democrats didn't want people to be labeled as citizen or non-citizen in the census, right? The idea behind counting all residents, though, is, well, part of it is representation. So if they find that a certain area has a higher population density, it may get, redistricted to include an additional congressperson. And of course, as the number of congresspeople and other stuff kind of shifts, the proportion of electoral votes that exist in a given state will also shift. So it's very possible that if California, Nevada, New York, or pick a state, if their population grew enough, they would actually acquire more electoral votes, and that would be taken away from a state that did not. So there's a whole scheme in that too. Elon Musk started, bringing that to light. I don't know, maybe about a year ago, where he was speaking about why this issue is important, how it directly correlates to the Electoral College. It's not necessarily because of the direct ballot being cast. That's not a valid ballot, but because of the count that's happening. And in 2020, remember, there was a pretty big surge that happened despite the pandemic. There's a massive surge that happened, and there was a count taken at that time. So I haven't seen studies or any real analysis on that yet to see how that has impacted, like a before and after, in terms of how everything is kind of proportioned up, but that's a big one. Judicial Watch has been talking about it for years. Oh, really? Okay. Trump Harris votes. Yep. Looks like no replies got it all nailed down here. Exactly the talking points that have been out there. Government. Yeah, I couldn't tell you which locations or who, but I had heard of reports of people wanting to clean up the voter rolls, and then there being lawsuits to kind of prevent them from doing so. And it's bizarre, right? Why would you not want to have clean books? Why would you not want to have these things be well maintained? Because it leads to error and to, fraud at the end of the day. All right, let's give her a little bit more conversation here. And if you guys got any questions or more thoughts, throw it in the chat, guys. I appreciate no reply. All the comments you're adding there. Hey, thanks, no reply. Appreciate that. Appreciate
And
the
then
subscription.
drives us to achieve it. So let's continue to organize and mobilize and stay engaged. And I thank you all.
All right. I keep pausing, I swear, after like every 5 words she says, but I read into it and it says something to me, right? Her demeanor's still a little bit off. She's it's an odd level of being subdued in how she's delivering her speech, but let's continue to mobilize and organize. There's another contingent of individuals that consistently look for the next opportunity to protest, almost to the point of not mattering what it is. All right, guys, I got to take a quick break, and I'll be right back. But I will leave you with I'll be right back sign. All right, guys, I am back. Back. How do I change back to my other thing? Doggone it, where to go? Where is it? Okay, there we go. All right, let me just... Let's get her going again here. So yeah, that contingent of individuals, you see them. Well, okay, a little bit of history on me. When I was in college, I was in California, and I joined the Green Party, believe it or not. Joined the Green Party. And what had happened was, the environment was a big thing. It was pushed. It was just the thing to do, right? And so it's like, yeah, environment, great. I'll go to the meeting that's happening on Friday or whenever it was. And it was a lot of older folks there too, not just some college kids. There was just actually a few college kids that went. And they started talking about, okay, when's our next protest? I'm like, oh, what are you guys going to protest about? They didn't know what they were going to protest. They were just excited about the idea of protesting. And somebody was talking about the types and styles of chants they were going to do. Someone else was like, I'll bring the food. The logistics and the execution was the fun part to them. The reasons and the messaging and the outcome was completely lost. That's exactly what I see in a lot of cases when she says we need to mobilize and energize people. And that's what I think of, right? It's without merit. It's without any meaning to it. And it's unfortunate because it starts to diminish real protest when people have something real that they want to bring attention to, right? These protests that have been somewhat meaningless and unimportant have gotten in the way of those things.
I thank you all. We are all in this together, all right? We are all in this together. And on this practical eve of Thanksgiving, I wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving with the ability and to find the ability at this moment to just remember there is so much to be thankful for. And so I wish for you that you are surrounded by the people you love and who love you. As you know, I encourage you to be around
She's
family
unstoppable, guys.
in whatever way you compose that family, but to take a moment and just reflect on all the good you have done and all the good you have yet to do.
All the good that you've done and all the good that you've yet to do. Oh my gosh.
We are powerful, those of us who love our country. And we got a lot of work to do. And with that, I will hand it over to Noel. Thank you all, and happy Thanksgiving from Doug and me and our family.
Okay. If you'd like to relive that clip, it's on my X page, or go to politicalcow.com. I've got all my notes that I went over this evening. Actually, this late morning with you guys. Not late, this early morning that I went over with everybody. Goal is to do some sessions during daytime hours. Of course, they won't be called political ASMR. Maybe it'll be the bovine brief. People catch the bovine reference there. I don't know. We'll call it something. Maybe I'll ask my AI to give it a name. But I don't know. It's been pretty fantastic, some of the stuff that continues to go on here. Yeah, so a lot of money. I'm just checking out the chat here. A lot of money has been spent on celebrities and effectively wasted across the board, A lot of money has been wasted by her campaign and for no outcome. $5 million to Megan Thee Stallion, right? Yeah, so you're telling me that somebody who's struggling that scrapped together $50 to donate to her campaign because they believed in her, and then they hear that $5 million was given to Megan Thee Stallion, so they gave $50 to Kamala to go hire Megan Thee Stallion. I mean, it's unbelievable when you see these priorities and these decisions. I mean, I would expect somebody like that to do it for free. Like, if you don't want to do it for free, then don't go to that event. Don't show up, right? That might not be your thing. So I think I'm just going to wrap it up with it is Thanksgiving. I'm going to catch some sleep real quick. Head out to church in the morning with my girls. I hope everybody takes a minute to think about ways that we can all kind of have some gratitude for our lives. And one intent that I want to put out there is thinking about how we can kind of come together and communicate with folks that we may not see eye to eye with. You look at my videos and my page and you'll think that I'm adding fuel to the fire. I like the humor of things. I like to point out inconsistencies, and it just happens to align with my political leanings. But at the end of the day, I'd like to see that everybody can do the same thing in either direction, because I'm sure there's plenty of fun stuff that we can do with Trump going forward as well. But if we can, when the whistle blows, just shake hands and kind of move on with our day and not be, not have such animosity. I think that's the gap that we need to bridge going forward. And I am hopeful to a degree that just given how things have worked out since the election, I mean, I've shown you all some of the meltdowns that are out there, right? Although I don't know why those things, go check out my videos on the meltdowns and give them a like. I'm not sure why they're not circulating right now, because they're just clips from the live events. But I think we have an opportunity to start making some strides. Some may not think so, but I think Trump is doing the same thing, just trying to set the country up for a better tone going forward. His style, there's no changing it now. Can't teach an old dog new tricks. His style is what it is. We always knew that he was an SOB, and I expect no less. But as Reagan would say, he's our SOB, and that's probably a good thing. Anyway, I appreciate everyone that participated in the chat. Subscribe if you haven't already, and enjoy Thanksgiving with your family, friends, whomever it might be, and I'll catch you guys on the other side of it with either ASMR number 12. Again, that's just the 12th one I would be doing, this next one coming up. Or if it's during the day, I'll have to give it a new name. I don't know what. Give me some ideas. But thanks again, folks. Y'all take care. And I will leave you with my theme song.
Darkness falls, truth emerges, political power fulfills the lies. Behind the screen, wisdom surges, lighting up hate through her eyes. In the shadows, secrets lurk, she exposes, she ignites. With every clue, she does the work, unmasking darkness, revealing light. Political cow, not making right, unveiling truth, nourishing night, love every post. She does the work, unmasking darkness, revealing light. Political cow, not making right, unveiling truth, nourishing night. Her voice cuts through, stark and raw, shattering deception, breaking the law. Icons crumble, empires fall. She stands tall, fierce and cold. Her voice echoes like thunder's call. In the chaos, strength unfolds. Prophets scatter, truth ascends. The world watches and mesmerized. Political cows battle never ends. In her light, dark meets its demise. Political cow, not making right, unveiling truth, nourishing night, love every post. She does the work, unmasking darkness,